Hi guys, so every year on Halloween my company has a potluck, and within that we have a competition for the best chili or soup. Now 2 years ago I won, last year I didn't compete, but this year I'm going to compete again. And what I'm going to make is a traditional Kentucky recipe called Burgoo. Now this is a really easy recipe. I have a lot of ingredients here, but it is really throw it all together, put it in a crock pot, let it cook for a while. Taste it, season it as you want to make it better. And it's really, really good. So with this, the origins of it are unclear. It could be Irish, it could be French, it could be anywhere over in Europe, it could be from the sailors, from the pirates, it could be a mispronunciation of Kentucky barbecue or bird stew, who knows. The only real tradition that it has with it is it has a lot of vegetables and 3 different types of meat. So usually some type of beef, poultry, and pork. You could also use venison, you could also use goat and rabbit, squirrel if you get really necessary, if you really need to do it. So there's a lot of different varieties, but basically it's using what you have available. So I got 3 different recipes offline that I've kind of cobbled together into my own. But what I'm going to do is start putting this together, and then we'll continue to add ingredients and season it until it gets to where we want to be. Now we have a crock pot over here heating up. Also have a pan behind me. We're going to sear off some of the meat before we put it in the crock pot. Some of the other ingredients we have are our homegrown potatoes, our homegrown peppers, our homegrown onions, homegrown garlic, not homegrown cabbage. That didn't work out so good this fall. And not homegrown carrots. Those aren't ready yet. I do have some freeze-dried mashed potatoes that we will add as a thickening agent tomorrow morning once this cooks overnight. You could also just use instant mashed potatoes. Works exactly the same thing. I think those are actually freeze-dried. I have some freeze-dried corn. I'm just going to use this because I have it, but you could easily use frozen corn. I have cannellini beans that I canned up last year, so we'll use those. Turkey broth that I made and canned up. Some celery that I grew and freeze-dried. We'll also add some okra that was, grown and freeze-dried. Probably a little onion powder. This is going to be to taste, and I may wait till tomorrow until the basic items are really well cooked. We will add bay leaf, not grown at home, unfortunately. I did grow some tomatoes this summer, few. I tried to make some sauce and can it up this morning, and I had 2 that didn't seal. So we're going to go ahead and throw that in. The recipes generally call for crushed tomatoes, but we're just going to use tomato sauce. And it is partially seasoned for like Italian pizza sauce. I also have some freeze-dried purple cabbage that we're going to add for color, salt, pepper, a little bit of garlic that we're going to dice up. I think I said that already. And then for the meat, we've got right now 2 previously frozen chicken thighs in bone-in, no skin. We have pork loin. We're going to use a portion of that. And then from the Farmer's Wife, which is in the Cedar Creek area of Louisville, so it's southern part of the county. Really, really recommend them. If you're in that area and you've never gone there, I've gone there a couple of times, been really, really impressed. They grow the meat themselves. It is raised with no hormones or antibiotics. It is partially grass-fed, partially grain-fed. Absolutely delicious. But this is a 1-pound beef shoulder steak, so we're going to brown it in the pan along with the pork loin and then put them in the crock pot. So let's get that started, and then we're going to start layering the other ingredients in so that we have, and I have a recipe here which I will put below recommendations, but honestly it's just something that you can just kind of put together on the fly and then add your seasoning to it. The thing that you want to make sure is that your meat is well cooked, which is going to take 4 to 5 hours in the crock pot on high. I'm going to be cooking this overnight, so it's going to be on low. But a lot of your ingredients, like your cabbage, your carrots, potatoes, your onions, peppers, they need to go in now along with the beef broth so that they can cook and meld overnight. And then we could finish topping off the seasoning in the morning. We will put some in there. Also have Worcestershire sauce and some olive oil that we'll use to brown the meat. But the mashed potatoes, the corn, we'll put in the morning. We'll finish off a lot of the spices in the morning. I may actually put some frozen peas in there too. So I'd like to welcome to my backyard Kentucky homestead. That was a really long opening. Thank you for sticking with me. This is a delicious stew, very, very hearty, very easy. Again, use whatever you've got in the kitchen fridge that you need to use up. It's perfect for that. So let me get the camera reset and we'll get the meat browned and then we'll start chopping the veggies and putting them in the crock pot. So let's get going. We're gonna have a little bit of a change of plan. Initially, I was gonna cut this up into smaller chunks, but I think what I'm gonna do is go ahead and sear the rest of it, put it in the crock pot whole, and then tomorrow we will break it apart into smaller pieces. So I have a pan heating up and I want to get this really, really hot, and then we will put this meat in there. So what we're looking for is about a pound of meat for each of the types, because we're gonna have a really hearty soup. There's gonna be lots of veggies. So put that back together. Okay. So I will take that pork loin and get it ready for the freezer. Let's see if we're ready. Yep. And what we're looking for here is just to get a really good browning on either side or the different sides of the pieces. And then we'll put the whole thing into the crock pot. This gives it some good umami flavor, but it also seals in a lot of the juices within that meat. So I've got the round steak and the pork loin here. We're going to go ahead and put those into the crock pot. And then again, I have 2 chicken thighs here that we're going to put in whole. And we will debone those and pull the meat apart before we serve it tomorrow. Okay, so that is our meat portion. So let's go ahead and I'm going to go ahead and put 2 cups of turkey broth. You could use chicken broth, you could use beef broth. Let's go ahead and get our broth in there to start. Lovely. And then we want to go ahead and get our veggies in there. So let's start getting these cut up, and then we're going to play it by ear as we go. Turn this around. I guess that'll work. Okay. Let's start with the garlic since it's the smallest and we can get it out of the way. Just gonna mince that up. This had been in the freezer, so it is a little weird looking, but it's still perfectly fine. Okay, that should do it. Put that in there. Next, I'm going to go ahead and get my onions cut up. So that's plenty of onion. Let's go ahead and do the peppers. Let me get a different knife for that. For the peppers, you do want to be sure to pull out any of that white pith inside because that's bitter. Peppers. Just gonna go ahead and we need about 2 cups of cabbage or so. Okay, that should do it. Now we're gonna do our carrots. Okay, I think the last thing that we're going to cut up are the potatoes. I'm going to leave skins on. I almost always do that. If there are any bad spots, we'll cut those off. But otherwise, skins go in. They have all kinds of nutrients in them. A lot of vitamins, a lot of minerals, a lot of fiber. So it's very healthy. So we're going to add some more mashed potatoes, dried, freeze-dried. Again, you could use the instant mashed potatoes. So we'll add that tomorrow, which will make this more of a potato type soup, but it'll thicken it and make it really good. Alternatively, you could also go ahead and use cornstarch to make a slurry and add that to that tomorrow. But I'm going to go ahead and use mashed potatoes because it's really good. So I've got a little bit of purple cabbage. Now this is freeze dried, so it will absorb some of the water, as will the corn and the celery. Okay, so that's the cabbage. Oh, no, for that little bit, get the jar back. And then we have some celery. So just sprinkle some of that in. For the recipe, we're looking for about 3 stalks or so. So just whatever feels good. Just a little more. Okay. Also going to put in some freeze-dried okra. Squished it into the jar too much. Now this is a great way to get really good veggies into your family's meals if they're not super big veggie eaters. And then we are going to add our tomato sauce. Smells good. I want to make sure everything is underneath the broth. So I'm going to go ahead and add another jar of that. Yeah, there, that's good. Okay, and I'm going to go ahead and add my cannellini beans. How thick are your beans? I did have a video last year about canning these beans up. It's really actually pretty easy. You do have to have a pressure canner, but it is a great project to work on over the winter when the garden is sleeping. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and try to stir this a little bit. Doesn't that look so good already? So the celery, okra, and cabbage is going to absorb some of that water, so that'll help thicken it. The beans will also help absorb some more. We're going to go ahead and put a few spices in right now. I'm going to put a bay leaf. Maybe 2. Let's do 2. Because I'm going to go ahead and add a little bit of salt. I'm using pink Himalayan because this is a lot of unsalted stuff. So we're going to put maybe a tablespoon in for right now. We could add more tomorrow once everything is cooked and we can taste it safely. Right now would not be a good time to taste it because we could end up with salmonella or E. coli or some other scary stuff. I'm going to go ahead and let's not do the really big one. The other one won't open. Alright, so then we're going to go ahead and add a fair bit of pepper. This is just black pepper from the Dollar Tree. Okay, and then a little bit of Worcestershire sauce. Oops. Got a bit of cleanup to do. Alright, there we go. Try to stir it up just a little bit. I'm going to keep an eye on it. I may have a little bit too much. Now that I've got everything in there, I might have a little bit too much liquid in there. So we'll keep an eye on it. And if we need to take a little bit of broth out, we can. Because the meat will actually release juices as well. But some of the veggies will absorb it, especially the potatoes. Will absorb quite a bit of the liquid. All right. So we will cover this up. Go ahead and lock it down. Because for this particular crock pot, it helps to keep the heat in. And we're going to leave it on low overnight. So it is about 9 o'clock right now. Time to go to bed soon. And then in the morning, we will check this and add the potatoes and make sure. We'll add the potatoes, the corn, and probably some peas. So we'll be back like that. Hi guys, it is the next morning. It is Halloween. Happy Halloween, belatedly, because it's going to be a couple days before you see this. But I've got a really big, wonderful looking crock pot full of soup. And what I want to do is go ahead and split that into 2 containers. We're going to put that into my Instant Pot and bring that into work. Use that on slow cooker mode because we have way too much in this. Let me show you. So we have way too much in here to add anything else to it, and we need to get the meat out and shred that. So I'm going to go ahead and put part of this into the crock pot or into the slow cooker. We'll taste it for seasoning, and then we'll get our potatoes, corn, peas, and whatnot back into it. Gloves on. We've got our chicken here, we have our pork here, and our beef roast, and we're going to try to debone them and just shred the meat up. That's a little warm. Whoa. We're just going to go ahead and shred this up. Because again, what we want to do throughout this is just consider how people are going to be eating this in a bowl with a spoon. So we want to have nice little bites. The roast is not as tender as I would like yet, but we've got easily 5 hours more for this to cook. To finish this off, I'm going to just run. To finish this off, make sure I don't have any big chunks. I'm just going to run the knife over it. That's a little less obnoxious. All right, that should do it. Now what we want to do, since we're doing about half and half, we're going to put half of this in one pot and half in the other pot. And I do have some more rotisserie chicken to add. Okay. So now I'm going to go ahead and add the freeze-dried corn. I'm going to use both. I'm going to use the whole thing. I'm going to do half and half. I'm going to add a little bit more of that over here because this I have a lot more liquid in, and we need more liquid over here. All right, so let me grab the peas. Okay, and we're just going to add a little bit. We don't want to do too much, just a little bit to each one. Okay, let's mix that together and then we'll give it a taste and then we'll add our potatoes. It smells wonderful. Wish you guys could smell it. Now this is thicker than the last time I made it. I've got, I think, a lot more content in there, so I'm not going to put as many potatoes in it. Let's go ahead and taste it actually. Not a cold pea. Ah, come on. That's good. I think actually, add a little bit more pepper. And with this, you can absolutely just season it to taste. So I'm gonna also go ahead and add a little bit of onion powder. I thought we had plenty of onion, but it just needs a little bit of a kick. You could also, if you wanted, add hot pepper flakes to spice it up a little bit. I think that'll do that. I'm gonna add just a teeny tiny bit of salt. The one thing I noticed with this pink Himalayan salt is that it takes it a while to really dissolve and start flavoring the food. So it is very, very easy to over salt things with that. But this had been cooking all night, so it's completely dissolved and it's all good to go. So we have potatoes, we have carrots, we have some okra in here, we have cabbage in here, we have pork loin, beef, brown roast, chicken thighs. Oh, I need the other chicken. So I had some rotisserie chicken and some turkey, I think, that was in the freezer. I'm gonna go ahead and use that, so I'm just gonna add it in here. All right, let's get the potatoes. I'm not going to use as much of this as I had initially thought because we're not as thin. We're doing pretty good. I think the freeze-dried celery, okra, and the potatoes that we put in last night really helped absorb a lot of the liquid that was in there. But I'm using freeze-dried mashed potatoes, but this would be just as good with the instant mashed potatoes. I have done that before as well. Awesome thickener, and you're not adding cornstarch or anything like that. Just a little bit more. So what I'm going for, I'm going to add a little bit more because what I'm going for is actually a stew consistency, not a soup. All right, that looks. Get the bay leaf. Don't serve the bay leaf because that'll actually rip someone's intestines up. Should they be uninformed and eat it. All right, that looks wonderful. Let's get this cleaned up a little bit so it's presentable. And then we'll just put the cover on it and load the car up. So I'll let you guys know how it went, if I won or if I was a runner-up. And we'll be back in half a second. Hi guys, so it is the next morning. I unfortunately did not win the competition. The buffalo chicken soup with ranch dressing instead of blue cheese won by a landslide. Everyone loved it. However, I do not consider myself a loser because I have 7 quarts of wonderful, hearty Kentucky Burgoo soup to put in the freezer. It's partially frozen because I put it in the freezer last night. It freezes exceptionally well. You just take it out, let it thaw, heat it in the microwave, and you have a wonderful, rich, hearty bowl of soup on a really cold winter's day. So super excited to get this into the freezer and have it later this season, over the winter. So it'll be awesome. Hopefully you guys will try it. I'll leave a comment below if you do, or if you've had a different recipe that you like to use with this. I will include the recipe estimation that I used below in the description. But anyway, thank you guys for joining me. If you're interested in more videos, check this one out. Till the next time, have a wonderful day. Happy gardening, happy cooking, all the days, and happy holidays. Bye.